Hey, David Brewster here, and episode of Chordplay, and this is Stretch Guitar Chords. And over the years, I've had a lot of private lesson students ask for songs and exercises to help them with their stretch or reach on the neck. And this is very difficult and demanding on your fret hand. So I did put the warning at the beginning, there's some wide intervallic stretches in this lesson, and I don't want you to hurt yourself. So definitely make sure you're warmed up, take it really slow, and if you feel any kind of pain or just weird sensation, trying to stretch like this, you might be trying to stretch too far too soon. So just take it really slow, and the next thing you know, through some kind of focused practice and reforming your technique, you'll be able to reach, some of these really wide intervallic chords. These stretchy guitar chords can be heard in all sorts of music, rock and prog rock and metal and jazz and acoustic music, and it goes back a long ways too. So it's definitely, different than the kind of closed, tight, chord formations, either in open position chords or bar chords and power chords. These stretchy shapes are more open voiced, and they kind of are spread out, with the notes across the fretboard. So it is a different sound, and it has, a very noticeably different sound compared to these closed, kind of bar chords and standard chords. And we're going to have extensions and all these kind of mutations. And, it's really interesting, and it seems like over the years I've had a lot of guitar students, and they're constantly looking for shortcuts or loopholes or these easy ways around a technical hurdle. And that includes picking and legato and bar chords and sweeping and all sorts of stuff. But with stretching, there really isn't a shortcut. There really isn't an easy way to get your fingers to stretch. The only way to really do it is just practice, stretching your hand. And there are exercises, there are songs, there's all sorts of things you can play that's going to improve your ability. And here's an image with about 8 guitarists that really helped me, kind of understand and unlock these stretchy chord shapes. For most guitarists out there, the first time you encountered a stretchy chord on the guitar was probably, I'm guessing, but probably one of the kind of boogie blues, riffs, those kind of standard, kind of bouncy blues riffs like this. And right there, I'm just kind of doing like E5 to E6 to E7. And then D5 to D6 to D7, A5, A6 to A7. So it's a, it's a 1-4-5, but I'm doing 5-4-1, and I'm doing it like that. And there's obviously the stretch. When we move from that 6 up to the 7, that's really tricky. The same thing here, we're moving back a whole step, so the the frets are a little bit wider spaced, and that makes that even harder right there. And then move over to the next set of strings and play A and do the same thing. Very, very common. Stevie Ray Vaughan, there's tons of stuff that uses, those kind of bouncy shapes. Think of Chuck Berry, and there's tons of stuff. The song that actually helped me directly with these boogie blues and that kind of, pinky stretch with this idea was Once Bitten, Twice Shy by Great White. And I learned that a long time ago. I've shown it to students over the years. I've played it in some cover bands. It's a classic song. But it really did kind of open up this boogie blues world because I wanted to learn the song. And I pushed myself and pushed myself and eventually could play it. It's this one. Something like that. Now, actually, Mark Kendall didn't play it there. I wanted to demonstrate it there because it's higher on the fretboard and the frets are a little bit closer together. But if you watch that classic music video, they actually zoom in on his hand. He's playing it right here in the key of C. So this, is basically kind of an extension of what we just looked at in the key of A earlier, that E to D to A progression. But now we're kind of doing that in the key of C right there. So if you watch the classic music video, they actually zoom in on Mark's hand, and you can see he's distinctly playing it right here. He's not playing it there. It is easier here, but if you relocate that C riff to this area, the frets are a little wider apart. It's a little bit more stretching involved, and it's definitely harder. But I think this is the way he actually played it. Check that song out and play around with that riff, because that's a great one to kind of open up this stretchy, chord world. Okay, here's a stretch exercise, and this is pretty basic. And we're going to move across the strings, and we're also going to stretch with different combinations of fingers to kind of help you get used, to stretching further and kind of fanning your hand out. So it's pretty basic, and it's going to start like this. We're going to actually play an E flat 5 right here. And what I want you to do is you're going to play the flat 5, which is that B flat, with your middle finger. And then I want you to move that flat 5 to the regular 5, but use your middle finger and stretch right there. Put a fret between your fingers. And then your third finger is going to take over and grab that B, and then move up. And you're going to basically raise that 5th, or you can also think of that as a C, like the 6th. But we're going to move that up, another fret right there. And then you want your pinky to kind of take over on that C note and move up to C sharp. And then you want to stretch up and move to D right there. So we're going to do this kind of progressive, stretching exercise like this. And then once you get used to stretching like that, because you're stretching here, and you're stretching right here, and you're going to stretch here, and then you want to stretch that again. That's a really good, exercise to play with. All right, let's move that over a set of strings and play it in the key of A, like this. And then do it again. Time. Let's move it over now in the key of D, and we're actually going to start right here. So it's going to start a little harder, because now you're going to start with a fret, in between your fingers there, and then you want to stretch that middle finger up another fret right there to the 10th fret. So that's going to be pretty tricky, like this. Shapes are, a super stretch, because you're grabbing 7, and then you're also grabbing that C note right there on the 13th fret on the B string. So if you have trouble with that chord, don't worry about it. Just go back to the E and the A and kind of slowly work your way up to where you can stretch. Grab that D7 right there, technically. You can think of songs like I Don't Believe in Love from Queensryche, and you can find actually a few of those chords in action like this. Something like that. You're basically sliding the C5 to D5, and you're also letting the open D string ring right there. Really interesting. So that, you're sliding that C5 to D5, go back to this, it's like a partial D sus4, partial D minor right there. And right there, you're basically playing D augmented, because there's the D, and there's A sharp right there on the B string on the 11th fret. right there, you're going to basically play C, but you're going to do it like this. There's your root note, and then you're going to bar that C and E note on the G and the B string. You also want to play with that sus4 note there, that F, and you're doing this. And then you want to basically play C over B flat. Like that. Killer song, but also that riff is kind of exposing some of these stretchy chords. Another song that really influenced me, especially with these Sus2 shapes. I'm a big fan of those kind of stretchy Sus2 shapes. But of course the Police with songs like Every Breath You Take and Message in a Bottle. And I think this, particular song really opened up a lot of guitarist ears that probably weren't used to those Sus2 sounds, like this. Doing, C sharp sus2, and then A sus2, and then B sus2, F sharp sus2, and then slide to 2 with that A note right there, like that. And this is kind of a choose your own adventure song because you can do it that way. You could also do it this way. You could transfer that A sus2 here to A sus2 back there. And that actually removes, one of those stretchy chords. When I first learned that song, that's how I learned it, by ear. And then later I realized, I think Andy Summers is actually doing it that way, where he's moving around the neck. For the Sus2 action, check out some Dream Theater, and I highly recommend the album Images and Words, which is their most popular, album. And the song Pull Me Under, which is obviously their most popular song, features lots of these stretchy shapes in action. And this is the chorus to Pull Me Under, like this. Actually starts right here, this E minor add 9, and it has that really haunting quality because he's arpeggiating the chord and letting the notes ring, and it sounds great. And then this is Petrucci's famous Lydian chord. This is a C add 9 sharp 11, C add 9 sharp 11, and go down here to C sharp minor. Play with the sus2 right there, kind of take your middle finger off. And then a G sus2 like this. And then right there, that's basically a B major 11. I totally love that progression. Nice modern sound, really cool. The opening, that was Lightning Strikes Again from Under Lock and Key from the band Dokken, and this riff from the song is a notorious, stretchy George Lynch, challenge. And I know there was a long time when I was younger, I could not even attempt, I couldn't even pretend like I could play this song, because I knew he was really just grabbing that F sharp and then stretching, crazy stretches, low on the fretboard too. So this is definitely not for the faint of heart, and it's really hard, but like this. And you're literally grabbing this F sharp on the low E, and then you're moving, with the index finger, kind of doing a bar right there. That's kind of like an F sharp minor 7. You're doing it like that. And right there, you're going to move up and grab this, partial B5 with that F sharp root note. And then a C sharp partial with that F sharp root note. And then a D with that F sharp root note. slide that D back to C sharp right there. That's tough, especially that D stretch. That's crazy. So if you feel any pain or anything weird happening here in your forearm or your wrist, stop. You know, don't force yourself. And if you're experiencing pain, stop. Don't continue. But that's really hard. The last example here is from Satriani, and this is Always With Me, Always With You from Surfing with the Alien. And I know when I was a teenager and I first tackled this song, I could not play, this B add 11, the opening chord. I couldn't do that to save my life. I could do this part, but I couldn't get that index finger to cooperate and go back here and grab that E note right there. And I've seen some mutated ways of playing this. I've seen people use, their thumb. I've even seen people use capos and stuff like that too. But really, to tackle this song, you just have to physically kind of get in there and start working with these stretchy, shapes like that. And that's brutal for sure. The other chords are okay, they're not that hard to play, but that first chord definitely will shock your system. I know when I saw that in the transcription book, I thought, is that a typo? It just looks so strange on paper, and it definitely feels strange, until you kind of get it under your belt and get used to it. And it's a beautiful chord, but it's definitely very challenging, and it's really kind of up to the index finger. As soon as you can kind of get these three fingers, your middle, third, and pinky, to kind of fret that partial, B major right there. And then it's your index finger that's grabbing the 11. That's why it's a B add 11. And it has that really airy, dreamy, sound. Really cool. And it's a classic song for sure, but that chord is definitely a big challenge. It's gonna wrap this episode of Chordplay with Stretch Guitar Chords, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of additional songs. There are hundreds of additional guitarists. And a wide variety of styles of music too, not just rock and hard rock and metal and prog. Like I mentioned earlier, jazz, acoustic music, there's tons of stuff. So this is really just the tip of the iceberg, just kind of putting your toe in this pool. But I added some of the songs that kind of helped me or kind of helped students over the years, and there's tons and tons of stuff you can check out and practice. But go slow. Don't race through any of this stuff, or if you're working on stretching and kind of getting your fingers, all fanned out, go really, really slow, because you're going to develop the strength and the necessary dexterity and coordination to be able to do this. Because if you just push and race right through it without developing, the strength and ability, then you might hurt yourself, honestly. So if you go slow and just gradually, slowly, almost think of it like weightlifting or something. You don't want to add all the weights, right when you start. You're going to, gradually add, maybe 5 pounds or 10 pounds here or there. So that's kind of how you want to do this. Maybe if you can stretch, a couple frets or whatever, then, just over time, kind of challenge yourself and stretch a little bit further. And the next thing you know, if you go slow and you're diligent and you really focus on this, the next thing you know, you'll be stretching all over the place, But you have to start somewhere. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to my lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content material. Thank you.